What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to the Whatcast. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm surviving. I'm living. I haven't been eaten by a shark or a dinosaur yet. So, you know, that's life in the moment.
Winning.
Sure. Let's say that.
All right, so you wanted to talk about some weird goings on, and coincidentally, I myself have been having some slight weird goings on. So, why don't you start with telling us when this started?
So, I don't recall if I'm sure at some point I mentioned it on the show, but it's been about 2 years. I moved to a new house, and we moved. It's in the same city, but it's just a bigger house. But it's an older house. The house we moved in is over 100 years old. And I don't necessarily think because a place is over 100 years old that it's necessarily haunted, but I've had some weird experiences since I lived here, and they're not experiences that I can explain away as being a coincidence, but also I'm hesitant to say that my house is haunted. And I really don't remember if I've ever talked about some of the stuff that happened early on, but one of the most alarming things that happened was a few months after we moved here. We have a dry erase board on the refrigerator in the kitchen for our grocery list. So if we run out of anything, we can just throw it on there, and we know for when we get groceries next time. But on the dry erase board is obviously a dry erase marker at the top. You know, it's got the little holder thing for it, and it's always in the top. We don't ever take it and put it somewhere else. So this one day, I think we were coming down from upstairs, but we came around the corner and we're going down the hall and into the kitchen, and it was my girlfriend was in the front, and then my youngest son, and then me. And she goes out in the kitchen. She wanted to write something on the list, and she looks, and the marker isn't there. So she turns around, asks me and my son if we knew where the marker was. Neither one of us did. So then she turns around, goes back, yells up the stairs to our oldest to see if he had done something with it, and he had no idea what she was even talking about. So while she went to go upstairs, I looked, and I also saw that the marker was not there. So then I went around the corner, and I went into the living room, and then she comes around to look through one of our drawers to get a new dry erase marker. So then I go back behind her, and we go back out into the kitchen, and the marker is right there. No one touched it. Our oldest was upstairs still. I was with our youngest, and she was getting a new marker out. And when we went back into the kitchen, the marker was there. Makes no sense. Nobody touched it. Nobody moved it. It was gone. And then it was there like nothing. I can't chalk that up to a coincidence, but again, I'm not willing to say that my house is haunted as a result of that. But that was like the first weird thing that happened for a while. And I believe I've mentioned this before, but my girlfriend is like terrified of hauntings and having spirits and stuff like that. So it's nothing that I ever brought up to her. Like, we both, obviously she was part of that situation, so it's like we acknowledged that it was weird, but we didn't talk about it. because she gets really freaked out about it. So we didn't even talk about it. But for a while, I had been kind of getting the feeling that there's something. And for some reason, I get the feeling that it's like some sort of animal, like maybe a cat or something that's here. Because I'll see, like, out of the corner of my eyes, I'll see like this small, like it'll look like a black cat or like a small shadow, and it'll just kind of like as I'm walking, I'll see it like in my periphery, like it'll look like it's walking alongside of me, like one of my cats. And I do have a black cat, but then I turn and it'll either look like it speeds past as I turn, or it'll be completely gone. And I'll look around, my cats aren't there, or it'll be I'll see it in my basement where we don't even let our cats come down here. But it looks like a fucking cat, but I can never like see it straight on. It's always like off to my side. But and then I'll have times where there'll be like cold spots to the point where I'm literally shivering because I'm so fucking cold. And one of those just happened like probably a month ago. So it's not because it's fucking cold, because it's summer. But I left my office down here. I went out into the basement, and then when I came, as I was coming back in, it's like I walked through this cold spot, and it just like stayed with me, and I was freezing. Like, you probably haven't, but anyone who lives in areas where it's like fuck you cold, if you go outside without proper preparation, like how cold you get where your body's just like shaking uncontrollably because you're so fucking cold. Like, that's where I was at. And I'm the type of person that's typically hot. You know, like if it's above 70, I'm fucking sweating. Like that's how I typically am. So it's really weird for me to get that fucking cold where I'm shivering. But again, these are all just like small things, like, you know, there could be explanations for it. But last weekend, there was something that happened that I actually wasn't here for. My youngest and I went to my brother's house, and we left my girlfriend and our oldest home. My oldest had just gotten home from work when this happened. He had probably been home half hour, 45 minutes. And they were both upstairs, and they're talking, and all of a sudden they hear we've got like a mud room. Like, if you come in the back door to our house, there's a landing, and there's stairs that go down into the basement, and then there's like a few stairs that go up into a mud room, and then there's a door that leads into our kitchen from there. And the door itself is original to the house. It had, I had to remove it like a year ago, but the door had like the original locking mechanism that required one of those old-timey keys.
They're like big brass keys.
Yeah. So, but I had to take it out of the door because the mechanism for the lock triggered and would not unstick, and we don't have the key to it. So I had to actually remove it so that I could open the door. So right now I ended up installing a deadbolt on the door. So that's what we use to keep it closed if we need to. But typically we leave it open during the day. But when we go to bed, we lock it. Anyway, none of that really matters. I just say it to explain the way that the door is, because there's still a door handle on it, but because I took the mechanism out, the door handle doesn't latch. But the door handle's there just so you can pull the door open and closed as you need it. So anyway, they're upstairs, and all of a sudden they hear footsteps, like somebody's walking around downstairs. And again, I mentioned my house is over 100 years old, and in some of the rooms it still has the original wood floor, so there's, you know, some creakiness to it. But they heard the sound of footsteps and creaking. So they were both quiet for a minute, and then they hear what sounds like the doorknob on the back door, like someone was either opening or closing the door. And then they heard footsteps again. And they knew I wasn't home, so they didn't know who the hell it was. So they yelled down the stairs. Nobody answered. So then they both grab baseball bats and they're coming down the stairs. And as they're coming down the stairs, they hear footsteps again, and they hear the door again with the rattling of the doorknob. And they end up rushing down the stairs, both of them together with fucking baseball bats, and nobody is here. The doors are still locked. They checked the basement door. The basement door was locked. The back door was locked. The front door was locked. Nobody was in the house. But they were hearing footsteps and someone messing with the door.
So those sounds would be representing somebody inside the mud room trying to get out, or in the kitchen trying?
No, what they were hearing was somebody actually in the house.
Oh.
And then they heard the rattling of the thing, which would be the sound of someone either opening or closing the door to the mudroom. But then it was followed by more footsteps. And they said they heard it 3 times. They heard the footsteps, and they heard the rattle of the door twice. But nobody was here. And they never heard, like, any of the doors close. And like I said, the doors were all locked. And you can hear our doors close. Even if you're, like, really quiet, if you're making the door latch, you're going to hear it. Especially the back door. And there was no sound. No sound like that. No one left. But they heard all these footsteps.
Okay, so I want to start from the beginning. When's the first time you saw this shadowy figure of a cat?
I don't know. Like, I don't really know, because, you know, probably at first, when I first moved in, if I noticed it, I probably thought it was my cats. Just because they were, you know, cats are fucking weird, and when you move them from a place they've known their whole life, they get weird. So, you know, if I saw it early on, I probably would have just thought it was them, like, slinking around, being all weird because they're in a new place. But I really remember it happening more probably within the past year. And I never wanted to bring it up because it was never anything, like nothing really weird happened other than that marker incident and me seeing things. And occasionally I would also feel like the brush of something against my leg, like a animal against my leg. You know, but it's not like low to the ground, so it's not like it's like a mouse or something. It's, you know, like my calf area. So it feels like what a cat would feel like if it was just really quick brushing by you. And there have been times I've 100% been positive that there was a cat that was down here, and there was no cat down here. But I felt it brush against me. But we've had, like, there was one time we were down here, because we also have we've got like a little hangout area down here. Like, if we have people over or whatever, we'll hang out down here. And we were sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden, from the ceiling, we see this, like, it looks like a string of slime that just comes down from the ceiling, just like this thin, like, bead of slime or something. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it comes down, and like, I'm looking at it, like, not even believing what I'm seeing, and then all of a sudden it just drops, and I look on the ground where it would have dropped, and there's nothing there. But we both saw this thing drip down from the ceiling, but there was no evidence that it landed anywhere. And then, like, I touched the ceiling was totally dry, but we both fucking saw it at the same time.
Okay. Did it have like the viscosity of maybe like a light oil?
No, it was like more like sap or like a syrup, something like that.
Okay. Maybe like a heavy oil.
And it just like slowly dripped down, and it was just one stream of it, just slowly dripped down, and then, you know, the stream got too thin and it broke, and whatever it was fell to the ground. And then when I looked where it fell, there was nothing there, like not even a mark no wetness. I touched the ceiling itself. No wetness, no stickiness, nothing.
Now, with this shadow type of entity, how often would you see it? Is it few and far between? And when's the last time you've seen it?
I would say it's pretty frequent, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And when's the last time it showed itself?
I don't know. Probably like it's so often that I don't even really like think about it much anymore because it's always in my periphery. So I would say probably last week sometime.
Okay, so
It's been a while since I felt anything brush up against me, but even then, even that isn't too infrequent. A lot of times they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay. Last week you say? Last week.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just a few days ago, we were down here and we were sitting there and all of a sudden my girlfriend goes, "What the fuck was that?" And I look over and she goes, "Something just tapped me on the top of the head." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like maybe like brushed your head?" And she's like, "No, like it thumped me on the head." And there was nothing. We were just sitting there. And then when she said that, because she had already said, told me about the incident with the footsteps and everything. And I didn't say anything about hauntings or anything at that point. But then after that happened, I look at her and go, "Do you think it's possible that maybe our house is haunted?" And she just goes, "Shh, shh. Nope. We're not even talking about it." Which is basically her way of saying 100% absolutely. I think that. So, and I mean, she could have even experienced other stuff and hasn't told me about it because she's very much a head in the sand sort when it comes to this. Like, nope, if I don't talk about it, don't acknowledge it, it's not happening.
Right. Okay. What about these cold spots? Is it specific to you in your office?
No, it's outside the office. And it's like all this shit is, except for the footstep thing, is like in our basement. Like all the shadow stuff, every time I feel something brush against my leg, the drippy thing, her getting plunked on, all that shit was down here. But when that cold spot thing, I was in my office and like I said, it's fucking summertime. And yeah, I'm in my basement, but my basement has been consistently in the low 70s for, months now. So I know it's not the fact that I'm in the basement. And even if I, let's say that it was even 10 degrees cooler and it was 60 something degrees down here, I'm not going to go from being perfectly comfortable to shivering in a matter of seconds. I left my office, went out. I think I went out to get a paper towel in the basement. And then I came back in my office, and on my way back in, I just hit the spot where it was like Arctic, and I was just freezing and shivering uncontrollably. And it took me a few minutes to get back to normal where I wasn't freezing anymore.
This might be a dumb question, but do you have a thermometer there? Like a one for like your body?
Not for my body, but my office is where I keep my lizards. So I've got, in both of their tanks, I've got a thermometer and hygrometer, and then in my office I have a thermometer and hygrometer. And that's how I know it's consistently in the low 70s down here.
Right, okay. You kind of got to keep it that way.
Yeah, I can't let it dip much below 70 for them. So I've got, in my office alone, I've got 3 temperature gauges. And my office did not change temperature. It was, whatever I walked through out there is what chilled me.
Is there anything else that seems to have been removed and put back like that? Is the marker the only case of that so far?
Oh, totally forgot about this. Okay. So when we were first moving in, like you do when you move into a new house, we were cleaning everything. And that included cleaning the basement. So we swept the basement. I even vacuumed down here. We had swept a number of times by this point, but we found this glass bird that it's like a tiny glass bird, probably less than an inch long, like just super tiny, delicate glass bird. But it didn't have any wings. And for some reason, Crystal picked it up. My girlfriend picked it up and set it on top of our water heater and forgot about it. And months had gone by. I sweep and vacuum the floor down here at least once every 2 weeks. And we had been here for months. So I had done this many, many times. All of a sudden, one day, I'm doing the sweeping down here, and I find this broken set of wings on this bird that was found when we first moved in. And all of a sudden, the fucking wings are right in the middle of the basement floor where I'm sweeping. Like, no way I would have missed this before. But there they are. And then, so then we had we ended up gluing it together, and we still have the bird thing. But it's like, where the fuck did that come from? It was, like, when I say the middle of the floor, I'm not exaggerating. Like, it wasn't hiding under anything. It was literally just sitting in the middle of the floor, this broken piece of bird. So weird.
Yeah, that's pretty weird, dude. And with all that going on, you're not ready to say your house is haunted?
No.
Do you think that...
Oh,
okay.
There was something else that happened, too, that I still haven't gotten to the bottom of this. I'm going to bring it up just so that it, just for part of what's going on. This could be little kid bullshit. My kids aren't little anymore, but this could be kid bullshit. But we had this ceramic black cat statue that was on a shelf on the wall that's facing our staircase going upstairs. And our boys were going upstairs, and all of a sudden, this thing fell off the shelf and broke into a bunch of pieces, like unrepairable. And we asked them what happened, and they both said they didn't know what happened. They said we were going up the stairs, and behind us we heard a crash, and we turned around, and that was on the ground. And so I'm like, well, were there any cats? And they're like, there were no cats around, which, I mean, that's not to rule out the fact that a cat knocked it down and then bolted, because cats do that from time to time. But they said there wasn't a cat. They had literally just passed it to go upstairs and didn't see a cat up there. And as they were on the stairs, they heard this crash and it was on the ground. So it could be a kid's story. They could have done something, hit the shelf and broke it. I don't know. But I bring it up just because if I have a cat ghost, that type of bullshit would be typical cat bullshit.
You don't feel that your house is haunted?
No. No, I don't know. I am very slow to say that, to admit to a haunting. Like, I feel like that's like the go-to thing. Like, if something weird happens at your house, like, oh, it's got to be haunted. And I'm not convinced of that. I don't know what's going on. I know that there's some weirdness going on, but I'm not willing to say that it's haunted or possessed or anything along those lines. I just think there's weird shit going on, and as of right now, that's where I would leave it.
Well, I mean, okay. Do you think there could be maybe not a haunting? Maybe that's too heavy of a word for the level of what you're describing. But do you think that there's maybe something there?
From time to time, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if this will freak you out. Let's look at it as if it's a story that we're researching for the show.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we're reading this story about a family that lives in a house that's 100+ years old, so old that there's some of the original fixings on the furnishings there. That's pretty fucking cool, I think. And someone starts off reporting the story about the bird wings when you first move in, and the little glass bird. And you're saying that this bird in itself is maybe a half-inch big?
Yeah, really, really small.
Did it look like it was snapped off like a bigger figurine or?
No, it was definitely a small figurine, and it was a clean break. Like where these wings broke off was like we were able to fit them perfectly together and glue it,
Oh.
and it was perfect.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's part of the story. And then, the father of the house starts seeing, a shadowy figure. We'll call it that because we know it's not a cat in most of the cases. Even if you have cats, let's say half the cases are, there's still 50% of that's not a cat.
Oh, I could say with absolute certainty that 95% of the times I've seen this, it has not been a cat because there's not a cat around.
Okay. And it's only being seen in their periphery and never giving it a solid shape, and retreats when tried to be focused upon. And then they're talking.
Yeah, it like looks like it, like if you've ever had a cat that's like following you and then it just like really quick scoots by. And, I mean, it's a basement, so it's not very well lit in areas. So, like, if I just have one light on and I just see this thing and then it runs by me real quick and then I don't see it anymore, I don't know what the what the hell is that?
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about. So from there, we can move to these cold spots. Cold spots so much that they actually cause shivering and chills. Okay, so reading it back like that, does that sound like a haunted place to you?
I mean, maybe. But again, I don't know. Like, what is a haunting, Do I think there's a ghost in my house? No, I don't think there's a ghost in my house. That's why I'm asking what's a haunting. Like, typically, if people say there's something that's haunted, they're associating it with ghosts in the same way that if someone says UFO, they associate it with aliens. And I don't think it's as simple as that. What would a ghost gain from making a marker disappear only to make it reappear when we get a new one to replace the missing one? It just doesn't make sense. Why would a ghost make a single line of slimy substance drip from the ceiling and then disappear? It's not like the typical, there's no knocking. We don't have the knocking. We don't have weird voices or, we're not seeing humanoid spectral figures or anything like that. And as far as I know, other than that incident with the footsteps, my kids haven't told me about anything. So I don't know if they're just oblivious to it or what. And again, my girlfriend doesn't talk about this stuff. So if she had witnessed anything, unless it was like really freaky, like it was just small little things, she would have just ignored it and pretended like it didn't happen.
Right. I know what you mean. My wife's kind of the same way. There's one place we lived where one time I saw something standing outside the sliding glass window, but it was really tall and it was like pressing up against the glass. So I got to get a really, really good look at it. And, it freaked me out pretty good. I didn't go to sleep that night. And when, the next day I decided to draw what I saw, and, everybody I showed that to told me that I should throw that away, that I shouldn't have drawn that. And I finally talked to my wife about it because I saw what that was there. I was almost like alarmed on a defend yourself level because it was physically there. It was pressing against the glass. And when I brought it up to her and I described it to her, she didn't say anything. And then I showed her the drawing and then she goes, "Yeah, I saw that."
And she just didn't tell you about it?
Yes. So it was that freaked her out enough. Something that heavy, something, seeing something that weird that she kept to herself. So I know what you mean for, how you describe your girlfriend, and maybe so for your kids too. I don't know, they know what you do and what you talk about and study.
They definitely would. I feel like they would have told me.
Right.
I mean, my youngest, he was home alone by himself one time and he called me saying that he heard somebody walking around in the house. And I chalked it up to him just being freaked out because he was home by himself. And it was the first time he had been home by himself at night. And And I'm like, oh, he's just having jitters. So I didn't think anything of it. And I mean, that could still be the case. Maybe, maybe it's not the case though. Maybe he did hear something like somebody walking around. I don't know. I wasn't here.
And now that you had that second situation with walking around, do you link it to it being the same thing?
I don't know, because he didn't. He just said that he was in his room and he thought he heard somebody walking around downstairs and thought somebody was here. But it freaked him out enough that he actually went into my dresser drawer and pulled out my hunting knife and sat on the stairs just in case.
Wow, okay.
Someone was coming up. So that he had a big knife and the higher ground.
I've had some weird stuff going on myself here. And I got to ask before I tell you my stuff, are you making any of this up?
No, 100% I'm not. And I, because of how like sporadic and really like non-event they are, I've never really, I don't think I've told you about any of this stuff just because I think I told you about the missing marker thing because that was really weird, but the rest of it I don't think I did. And the only reason I bring it up now is because of the incident where both my son and my girlfriend heard someone walking around and the door being rattled. And then within a few days having her sitting down here and something touch her on top of the head. It made me want to bring it up to you. And then you told me that you had stuff going on. I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do a show where we talk about the weird shit that's going on with us. And really, like, a lot of the stuff I had forgotten about until I was just going over it with you. Like the bird thing, totally forgot about that. And like the cat rubbing against my leg when there's no cat, forgot about that. Like it's weird, just these little things that I forget about. But then when I'm talking about it and seeing the big picture where it's all together, I'm like, well, that's kind of a lot of weird stuff that's happening. But yeah, no, this isn't a teaser for the 500th episode. We just wrapped up the 400th. We got a while still before we have to start going down that road. That's just weird shit that's happening that I can't explain, and I'm not willing to admit that there's a ghost.
Yeah, it might not be. That I would say about a month ago. Well, I'd say about a month ago. I've been having things that I'm using, things that I have in my hand, things that are in my pockets 90% of the time, even though I'm home, like my cell phone. I listen to a lot of podcasts when I can or watch stuff. So my phone's always on me. And there's been maybe about like 10 or 12 times in a month to where I'll set down, let's say, my cell phone because I just changed something and I set it down so I can do something. And I won't, there's been times where I won't change my position besides turning another direction to get something. And I turn around and my phone's just not there anymore. And that to me is alarming. So I will go out into the living room and say, maybe I didn't set it down there. Maybe I was, busy, running around doing shit I'm doing. And I'll come back and it's every time it's placed, or no matter where I find it, just hanging off the edge. This has happened with my phone, certain vitamins I take every day, certain medications I take every day. Like it's happened in front of my wife now, to where I'm like, hey, I can't find these cranberry. I take cranberry pills every day, and it's not a fucking small bottle. And I'll be like, hey, where did you put my cranberry pills? And she's like, I didn't touch them. I was like, it's on my desk. And now my wife gets to work from home sometimes, and she likes to use my desk because I can make it like lift so high that you can stand while you use it. So I had just recently like cleared it completely off for her to use, and there was nothing on there, and I'd put it on that desk, and it's gotten to the point where she's like just stopped what she's doing and got up and started looking with me, and then we'll go into my room where the desk is, and they're on the edge of the desk. It's been.
That's so
weird.
Weird.
It's been ridiculous. There's one time to where I know I put something down, like my TV's like on a stand, and uh, I think I put like what I was drinking. Yeah, it was my soda on that stand. I got up to go do something, and I came back, and it was gone. So I walked around, and I started to get mad.
Of an actual drink?
Yeah, a can of soda. And I just walked around so much, I got mad. I said out loud, "Where the fuck is my fucking drink?" And then I turned around, and it's on the TV stand. And I grabbed it, and I said, "Fuck, thank you." And
That's so weird.
every time it happens now, I'll just mope around pretending I'm looking through different rooms and wait till it's put back.
Wow. That's weird, man.
Yeah. Another thing that's been going on is that when I do set down my cell phone, no matter where I set it, it seems to fly off of that surface. Like my phone is fucking cracked and destroyed now. It's bitten the dust so many times in my house. And I was telling my wife about it. If I put my phone on the couch, it falls off. I'll set it on the couch, walk out of the room, and I'll hear it thud on the floor, harder than what it would be if it was just dropped. If I put it on the dining room table, I'll go back into the kitchen and do what I'm doing in there, and then boom, there goes my phone. And I told my wife about it, and there's like 4 or 5 times where we're all running around doing stuff, in the house, whatever it is that we're doing, and she'll hear a thud. She'll go, "What was that?" I go, "I told you, that's my phone. There's no reason for it to be falling like that. That's my phone." And then she'll go like, "All right." And then it'll happen 20 minutes later, and I'll go, "You go look. You go fucking see where my phone's at right now." And then it'll be on the floor. And then one time we were cooking together, and I put my phone on top of my microwave. It's not a fucking round shape. It's a fucking microwave. And I put my phone up there, and I'm listening to something while I cook. And I look up to say something to her, and I started saying something, and she turned her head to look at me. She was at the sink, and we both just watched my phone fly off the microwave and hit the deck.
Wow, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. So I would say about 2 weeks ago, I've been getting hit with chills so bad that I made a doctor's appointment because I thought I was sick with something. Like to where I'll drink a cup of fucking coffee, put on like a sweater and sweatpants, and then have to take a hot shower and get out, and I'm freezing. But it only lasts for a couple moments. Just the other day, I would say, it had to be Tuesday of last week. I was sitting in my room playing Ark with Miss Brandy, and my bed is like a foot away from the wall. The head part is against the wall. But there's like a pathway for my, there's like a small end table on her side. So there's enough room for her to walk there. But it's maybe like a foot and a half away from that wall. That walkway is about that wide. And I was sitting there playing Ark, and I shit you not, a shadowy little cat type sized figure popped its head up just above to like where the bed level was to where I can see it. And
what the fuck?
When I saw it, I knew what it was. I've seen it before. And I went, "Oh shit." And I kind of sat up and waited to see if our cat ran out from my bed, and it didn't. So I peeked over the corner, and there's just nothing there.
Wow.
Have you brought anything new into your house recently?
No, I don't think so. Nothing like weird or spooky or anything like that would bring up anything like this that I could think of anyway.
Do you want to know what I think's going on?
Yeah.
Remember you remember my blob story, the black blob shape?
Yeah.
You got one of those.
How dare you?
I don't know what it is. When I saw that little shape come up, and it was in my periphery, but it was not so much in my periphery as that type of thing usually is. Like when it popped up, I was able to turn and focus on it, and it was a blurry thing. The edges of it were blurry. It almost looked like there was 2 images, and it was slightly askew with an outline of a blur.
Huh.
I think and I know that I've seen that type of thing, that shape thing before, with that blob thing I saw when I was a kid that I've talked about on here plenty of times. The walking around, I mean, that's all heavy shit, dude. That's all heavy shit. I mean, something's dripping from your ceiling and having it not be there. We've covered stuff like that. That's unsolved mystery shit. I know it's not raining down.
Yeah, it was just one line.
Right, but I definitely would say I don't know if it's haunted because when I experienced that blob thing that I saw when I was a kid, it wasn't in a haunted place. That house wasn't haunted like that. It's a type of an attachment, more of something that's doesn't live there, but that's occupying the space right now.
It seems like it's a trickster entity.
Right. It seems like it's definitely trying to get your attention. It sounds like it's trying to irritate you guys. And it sounds like it's moved on to trying to frighten you guys from what you're telling me about the walking around and somebody trying to fucking handle your house.
Yeah, that's, interesting. Well, really all I can do is keep an eye out, I guess, and keep track of what's going on. I'll be paying more attention now, though, certainly, and see how things go, if anything escalates or moves or changes or, anything like that. I don't know. But I don't want a fucking spooky blob monster in my house.
I don't know how to address these things anymore. I had lots of ideas, and I learned a lot. Like I've said before, like from my dad and his experiences, and him studying this stuff and trying to get a grasp on what that stuff was after what he experienced in his life, and after talking with like Miss Lucy and somebody who is sensitive and does have gifts, and they run in her family, and just learning a little bit more about that stuff through her. I mean, a lot of people like to go around and burn sage in their house. They go to their local head shop and get a bundle of sage.
Yeah, I actually, when I first moved in, like literally within the first week, I smudged the entire house.
Nice. Yeah, but Miss Lucy would all, I had some issues that got pretty heavy for us as far as that stuff went, and I had to talk to Miss Lucy about it for help, and she told me that, saging would be a good idea, and told me, what to think and what to do while I do that. And I told her I'll go pick up some sage, and she stopped me. She said, don't do that. Don't go buy some sage. You have to grow your own sage. And you think about where those things are made. I mean, half the time it could be in some deplorable conditions, and whoever's binding that sage is full of negative energy and thoughts and feelings and not a good place in life. And sage being what it is, that can get sucked right up into that, and actually burning that in your home could invite things. It's a big barbecue pit of negativity being released as you walk around your house with this thing. And it's so, I mean, like, I don't know. I even asked her about the stuff I experienced. It's like, should I film this? And she didn't recommend me doing that. So I don't know if I feel comfortable with telling you, next time you see that shadow thing, just bust out your phone. I wish I can advise you to just bust out your phone and set it down. Let it record for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like when you're done recording, leave Audacity running for a half hour, go upstairs, and then come back down. Because I don't want things to get worse. I don't want things to escalate if that's what's going on. But like I said, everything you've described is literally from cases we've covered, and a lot of it I've gone through myself through experiencing this type of stuff. The shape that you see that's in the corner of your eye, even down to the size, dude. I mean, I described the first time I told you the story about the blob that I saw, that I thought it was a cat. It was the size of a cat until I can see its shape and realize that it was not a cat. It wasn't the shape of any animal. And I don't know what, I mean, I've thought back to it being completely in the dark and just the right amount of backlighting from the moon coming through those blinds in the room that was behind it. I don't know what circumstances made it visible then. So sharply visible. So I can completely see it. I could see it wasn't just like the eyes in the thing didn't just sit there like a fucking cartoon drawing. You can see where there was a brow that hung over it. I don't know why I was able to see it that clear that time, but I wish you could. I wish you could have it. It reminds me of the shadow person I saw that ran down the stairs. The same type of shadowy appearance. It's become almost like a cliche now when people see these things, but you can't look at it that way. It's a shared experience. That's the truth of it. People are seeing the same type of thing. And I remember seeing that video from Bizarre Bub. I even sent it to you. I was like, dude, that's what I fucking saw. Do you remember that video?
That blob, yeah.
And that's, I mean, I don't, how did that video look like at all, what you're seeing?
No, because what I'm seeing, like, it looks like it's at the same level as a cat would be. And it, like, follows along, like, by my legs. And then when I go to, like, look down, it almost, like, looks like it rushes past as I'm looking down. And then it's, like, ran into the shadows and nothing's there.
You have any religious books in the home?
Oh, dude, I've got 2 shelves of like, religious books are my bread and butter.
Any Bibles?
I have 5 different translations of the Bible.
Nice.
Yeah. I got a lot of stuff. I've got, like, I even have a Christian minister's handbook, like the thing that they take when they get called to, like, a sick person's house or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've got, like, a prayer book devoted solely to Saint Michael. And then I've got, like, all sorts of Buddhist and Hindu texts. I've got some Jewish texts. I got a lot of religious books.
Yeah, we gotta. I don't know. We gotta find you some proper sage. I don't know. I wish I could ask Miss Lucy what to do now, because that's, to me, that's not alarming in a sense that I think you're in any danger or anything like that. But I mean, I guess I'll just say that's heavy activity. That's all coming within a 2-year span too, huh?
Yeah, since we've moved here. We haven't quite been here for 2 years yet.
I guess, I don't know. How do you feel about that? I mean, I don't know. You've had your experiences with ghosts, seeing people like forms and people. Some of the experiences you told me that you can see a person, but
yeah,
how do you feel about it being this odd shape?
I don't know. Like, to me, it's not I'm not really alarmed by it. I haven't been freaked out by it. I was kind of annoyed by the getting cold thing, because who likes shivering their ass off? But,
yeah.
I haven't seen anything that's, like, scary, like, to me, seeing or feeling like what I would assume to be a cat brushing by my leg and having nothing there. That's not, it's odd, but I don't find it scary. I'm more curious about it. Same with the weird dripping from the ceiling. Like, what the fuck was that? And why did it only happen once? And what was it? It's, but I'm not, like, it doesn't freak me out. I'm not, like, I wouldn't even say that I'm annoyed by it. Like, I'm just curious what's going on.
Right. Would you be willing, like, to set up your camera like that for, like, 20 minutes after leaving your office? Or you don't want to?
I mean, I could. I don't. There's never been anything weird going on in my office, though. Like, I've never felt anything weird or seen or heard anything weird in here.
It's outside the office then, right?
It's outside the office, yeah.
Yeah, that's weird, dude. I know that I think it's a program, oh God, what is it called? Like CyberCam? Like, most computers come with that. I'm looking right now. I don't know if I see it. But yeah, I check your computer for your web camera program, whatever it is. Most computers come with it. And most of them have a security mode. So if you turn it on, you can set it to, like, movement, and it'll start recording as long as it's detecting movement. I used to use that as a security device at my old place. Just put the webcam, like, on your windowsill, and if it detects any movements, it'll even email you if you want. But that might be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's weird, dude. That's strange stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll have to wait and see if anything continues. I mean, like we've talked about many times before, that it can all of a sudden just stop and you never see anything like that again. But we'll see.
Right.
We'll see what happens from here, huh?
Yeah. But if I get like abducted by aliens or something, just try to tie it in with what I was describing. Just to prove my point that it's all connected, if you'd be so kind.
Will do, sir. Will do.
I appreciate that. So if I disappear, it's one of two things. Either a portal to hell opened up in my basement and sucked me through, or I was abducted by aliens. And the Whatcast will just be Mateo. And he'll tell you what happened.
And then I'll retire.
And then he'll retire. So let's hope it doesn't come down to that, because I don't want to be abducted by aliens or dragged to hell in my basement.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.